That's what I'm talking about, Jim.
Way to go, Johnny.
That's a decent fish right there, baby.
You called that one.
Little Rico bass.
Right up there on the shoreline.
Not a bad fish right there. He's trying to, I gotta be careful. You got little hooks in these baits, you know?
Man,
it is putting the meat. I'm afraid to wail on it too much, you know, because of the Rico has got small hooks in it. And it's pulling, man. Oh, it's because I hooked it sideways. Can you get it without getting your fingers hooked? He came up and blasted that thing. There you go, son.
You called as soon as it hit the water. You said there should be one there.
He came up and slapped at it. That's the value of good hooks right there.
Where's your
Let me
pliers
grab this. Right here, got him. Can you believe it?
No. Look how beautiful
First
and
thing
dark
this
it is.
morning.
How fat he is.
Come on. Come on, you gotta be careful. I don't wanna hurt the feathers on this thing. Yeah, there you go. All right. Get that out of there. All right. Look at that fish, folks.
Smells fishy.
That's what I'm talking about, a little topwater. Early morning bass fishing right here at Canyon Lake. Summertime, into summer, bass fishing. Let's let her go. Came up and blasted that bait just sitting there. See you, bud.
Right on the bank.
And I'm with my good friend, Jim Hawks. Jim, man, I'm so glad I could finally get this guy on the show. He got second place to me at the Wild West Pleasant Bass Tournament last year, and the one that I won. And man, you caught a huge fish during that tournament, didn't you?
Yeah, first day caught a giant, biggest. I think it's the largest fish of the tournament.
Yeah, it was a big fish, but I'll tell you, we decided to come out here, throw a little topwater, do something I love best, which is throw that. This is actually the Rio Rico, and that's the lightning shad, my favorite color.
My favorite color too.
Is it your favorite color too? Do you need one, or do you?
No, I tried a bone just to mix it up a little bit if we needed to today.
Bone's a good color too.
Yeah.
But these are awesome baits to throw. The reason for the Rio Rico, we got big fish in here. You can make a long cast with this with a bait cast outfit, using a medium action taipan rod's what I'm throwing it on. And of course, I'm using monofilament. This is a 15-pound monofilament line. And I like the monofilament because it floats on the water. And we've talked about that about topwater a lot. It's the only time I really like to use the monofilament a lot is definitely during the topwater season. But it's got a little added extra stretch for those little hooks and stuff like that.
I use exactly the same setup as you, Johnny. Exactly the same.
Yeah, good setup. But good old Jim, I'm so glad to have you on the show today. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to catch some fish. And I'll tell you what, owner of Gold Vampire and good sponsor of the show, and we sure appreciate you having you on. And of course, what a great fisherman. He's been fishing for a long time, and always see him at the Clear Lake Open and the different lakes, and he's been fishing the FLW, got a chance to make the championship, so dang excited to have you on, man.
Oh, it's been great. I'm glad to be glad for the invitation.
Well, let's catch some fish today. Let's go down the bank, see what we can't do with these Ricos. And it's early morning. Water temperature is about 82 degrees, so it's a warm water temp. But we're here early in the morning, and would you believe that when we decided to do this show this morning, I don't think neither one of us realized it was a full moon.
No, we didn't.
Like,
we
what
didn't
in the
know.
world's going on?
We didn't know.
So,
we could have been out here really early.
Yeah, so anyways, yeah, we'd have been out here a lot earlier. You'd have seen some moonlight, but we'll get out here and we'll catch some. That fish came from right off the bank. I didn't even do anything. It was just sitting there.
Yeah.
As soon as it hit, so it was dead sticking. We'll see what happens. He came up and slapped at it. Hopefully we can catch some more doing that. Man, the size of the fish that are in Canyon Lake, it's such a beautiful lake. It's, you know, this, you can see why they call it Canyon Lake, obviously. And it's a clear water reservoir, and the water looks like it's a little bit down. It fluctuates a few feet, you know. I would say anywhere from 4 to 5 feet here and there. But this is one of those lakes you never really have a problem launching your boat, huh?
No, never.
Well, we'll just let it sit right up there on the bank and pop it a few times and see how that goes. You know, one of the biggest things you have to learn when doing this kind of fishing is figuring out the cadence of how to work the bait. Sometimes they want it fast, sometimes they just want it sitting there. Sometimes you just hit them on the head like I just did and catch one.
You called that one. You called that. As soon as it hit the water, you said it was going to bite.
Well, whenever you're ready to make the switch to the lightning shad, you know I got one for you.
Okay. I'll probably switch up pretty quick.
Good old Labina Lures Rio Rico bait.
I've got one I use so much I hardly even have any lightning shad paint left on it.
I know. Well, I brought you a new one.
Okay.
Darn it, that's like 3 fish we've lost. Oh, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Did he get it?
No, he never even had it in his mouth. There's never even any pressure on it. I was going too.
That was a giant. How are they missing the bait?
I don't know what to do different.
That was a monstrous fish. And a lot of times these fish will come up and try to hit the bait, but what they're doing really is swirling on it, trying to slap it, maybe kill it, knock it dead. And they just don't get it. And then we get overzealous and we want to pull because we see the actual swirl. And when you see that, you're thinking, oh, he's got it. And sometimes they just don't have it. And a lot of times you just want your bait to sit there after that and recoup here a little bit, you know, see if they come back and get it. Because that's what the fish will do a lot of times, is swirl on it and then come back and get it. But by then we've gotten to the point where we're like, okay, we got to pull, you know. Yeah. It's hard, man. That was a good looking bite.
You got a split second to make that decision.
It's such a good looking bite. I'm gonna throw it right back in there one more time.
I think it's a good idea.
There, you miss him?
Got off, yeah.
Oh no!
At least we're getting in him, Johnny.
Yeah, right here,
Get that.
He won't come back probably after tasting that hook, will he?
May have been more there though.
Did you tie on that new lightning shad?
Yeah, tied it on first cast.
I forgot to tell you, I didn't put any hooks on.
Yeah, you had the keepers on the points.
Yeah, I still got the keepers on the points. Big old bass just blasted his bait.
I'm double checking it now. There, it's good.
That's funny.
Be careful when you take a lure from your buddy.
Yeah.
Got him?
Got that one.
Oh, good job.
You didn't get away from me that time, you little booger. Oh!
Oh. Shoot, you want to see how you fish?
There we go. There we go.
That's like a good fish too, John.
Oh, little drop shot bass. He's just a little guy. Now this ain't no Canyon Lake bass, but it's a bass. Get him there, Jim.
There we go. Yeah, it's a bass.
And that, folks, is what happens when it gets tough. Look at that. Is he as big as the worm? Look at that. My goodness. You know, when the fishing gets tough, we came to this point, and this is where we saw some fish blasting this morning, and we've missed some great fish on that topwater, and they're slapping at it, you know, but dealing with the full moon, they kind of shut down. The wind kind of picked up a little bit, and we had some current for a while, and it kind of shut down on us. So we decided to pick up some worms and just kind of throw around and see what's going on in some of the areas that we did get bit in, and just caught that little fish, but not near the size of the fish that we were getting to blow up on our topwater.
No, not like those explosions we had.
Yeah, so we'll just kind of fish around and see what we can't do. And you know, summer fishing, it's kind of wide open. You can, first thing in the morning, get that early morning topwater because the water is at its coolest first thing in the morning because it's had all night to cool down. So the fish are a little bit more active in the morning, plus they got the water moving. And that's another thing to think about on lakes like Canyon or Apache or some of these Saguaro Lake. You know, when they start moving that water, it really fires them fish up. And that's the time to start catching the fish, is when you see the current going. We've lost the current, but we've still got a little bit because of the wind, which is good, but the topwater bites kind of went south on us a little bit. We hadn't been bit for a while, so we decided, well, let's try some of this stuff and see if we can't pull a few fish out. And you know, drop shot's something I always like to go to in Arizona, obviously, and I've got a short leader, but what are you throwing?
I'm throwing a Yamamoto Ika.
That's what I was leading the first day of the Mojave tournament with.
It's like a little crawdad bouncing around. Yep.
And so we'll try this for a little bit, see what we can't do. And you got that rigged up backwards, don't you?
Yeah, backwards.
And it works great.
It works awesome.
Because when you're pulling it, it actually looks like little tentacles or something.
Yeah, there's a little weight in the bottom of it.
That's exactly the way I hooked it up too. And that's an awesome way to hook that little Leica up right there.
Yeah.
But what size hook you throwing?
3/0. 3/0 gap. Yep.
All right.
With the nail weight in the bottom of it.
Oh, a nail weight. So you're getting it down there on the bottom.
nail weights. It's pretty heavy weight in the
We'll try this and see what we can't do. We're going to go down the bank a little bit, see if we can't find out what these fish are doing. So far, we caught one off a point. You know, don't mean a whole lot. It's a little guy, but we'll keep moving down
We
and see
definitely
what
had
happens.
good opportunity. The bluffs that we had, they're enough to keep you fishing. They're enough.
Yeah, they're enough to make you
Yeah.
want to pack up and go home. It's going to be 107 degrees today, folks, so we're going to try to see what we can't do and catch us up some fish. Get him? All right. Hey, Jim got one, folks. Decent little fish right there. Little drop shot bass. Bring him on up.
Johnny's bluff technique.
Yep, the bluff technique works. Did he hit it hard?
No, he was just on there. He was just on there.
We got him. Ah, got you.
Yep.
Hey, you even lost your weight. I'll have to get you
Yeah,
another
that's
weight.
all right, man.
Got him?
Yeah. Yeah.
So was it a pressure bite or just a thump?
It was just a pressure bite. Just pulled it off one of the ledges you were talking about, and he just started swimming off with it. He was going to make sure I caught him.
Now, believe this or not, the difference between a pressure bite and feeling the bite is crazy, but basically a pressure bite's when you let the bait fall to the bottom and it falls all the way down there and you pick up on, and you don't feel the bite, you don't feel the initial thump. You might have slack in your line or something. The fish sucks the bait in, and basically when you pull back up to get better in contact with your line after it's fell to the bottom, it just feels like you're pulling through weeds. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel the fish swimming before you set the hook, and a lot of times if you wait that long, you can lose the fish. They spit it back out.
Yeah.
But that's what a pressure bite is. So you just pull up and it feels spongy. That's why they always used to tell you, hook sets are free. Set the hook because it's probably a fish, especially in this deep water, you know.
Or if it just feels a little different. Just
Yeah,
a
just a
little
little
bit
different.
Just
You bet.
Slightest
Yeah.
thing.
One thing that's important to remember too is that I think the one thing we haven't discussed about what we're doing, and I want to explain something because I've gotten some emails talking a lot about the drop shot. Why do you use braid?
Oh, yeah.
I'm using a braid to, wait a minute. Oh, I think I got
got
bit right there. Anyways, I'm using a braid to floral leader. And what I mean is I'm using a braid line. It's a 15-pound test braid line, okay? And then I tie on a fluorocarbon leader. Now, I'm not using braid line so I can swing on the fish and horse them in. That's not the purpose of this. The purpose of the braid line is for sensitivity. You're fishing that deep of water, you want to feel everything down there. When you do get down there and you know, I can still feel the rocks down there and everything just as if you were fishing 5 foot of water with just straight fluorocarbon. So the sensitivity factor is really there with the braid. You know, if you're fishing real shallow water, 5 foot of water, you probably don't need it. But when you're fishing that deeper water like we have to fish in Arizona, you know, that braid to fluorocarbon is awesome. Fluorocarbon has less stretch than monofilament, so you're still getting that good line, and it's virtually invisible underwater. And we use an Alberto knot that we use between the braid to marry the braid and the floral. And you can find that on your YouTube channels or something like that, and you can find how to tie that Alberto knot. It's an awesome knot, and you gotta practice it, get it down. It's one of the smallest knots you can use, and that's what I use. I used to use a uni, but you can use that as well, but this comes through the guides a lot better. There's one, a little bluff bass. See, they're not very big though, look at that. But they're a fish.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's like, can you lift that big booger?
I'm not even gonna lift
Look at that, look at
My
that.
finger won't fit in.
Little drop shot bass. That's what I'm talking about, son. Hey, don't make fun of
It's a fish.
Don't make fun of
I'm
my
not making
fish.
fun of- all
If
mine-
this was those tournaments where they have to throw them back, that's a keeper, folks.
Yeah.
How much will that give me? That's awesome.
Weigh him up.
You know, it's so funny because we were just talking about it, how the bluffs, you know, I like fishing bluffs this time of year because in the heat of the summer, you get this little shade stuff. You just throw it up in there and you hope that your drop shot or your lure that you're throwing, your jig, you can throw a jig,
Yep.
but let it hit
Senko.
bottom. Yeah, Senko, let it hit bottom. And when you throw it out there, we might be in, like right now we're in 56 foot of water, but you can see how the rocks come down, how it has ledges. See how the ledge is?
Perfect.
So you're hoping you fall right down there and you hit a ledge and there's a fish sitting on it. And so many people do overlook these bluffs because they think, oh man, it's too deep. But believe it or not, in the summertime, it's a good place for fish to actually hang out. And they don't have to move that far off of the structure. And what really makes it nice is you don't have to worry of whether the fish are moving in and out off a flat These fish will just move up and down on the bluff as the water moves up and down. So they kind of stay in that area. Oh, there's one.
There's a nice fish in it.
All right, a little bit of fish. That's what I'm talking about, son. In the weeds. Yeah. In the weeds.
There we go. Good job. Senko.
Don't you let him come off now. I know you want to shove him off.
I was trying.
I know you want to shove him off. He wants to put that fish back in the lake. Let me touch it.
There we go. Come on.
Can we all say a little Senko bass?
He's not going to be unhooked either.
Okay, so we've moved from the bluffs. We found some grass. You can call that bass in the grass, whatever you want to call it.
Chunky bass in the
Chunky
grass.
little bass. That's a little bit bigger when we were catching drop shotting.
Yep.
We were catching them drop shotting, but they weren't very big.
No.
So we thought we'd try something a little bit different. Instead of doing the settle for, we came back into an area that's got some weeds where Jim can throw his frog, and you hit the nail on the head. You told me to pick up a Senko to go to this area. I picked it up first cast.
Or Texas rigging like
Texas
this?
rigging it.
Yep.
Texas rigging it. It was a 4-inch.
Okay,
4-inch
bigger one
watermelon
here.
Senko. Yep. And you can't beat a Senko in Arizona.
No.
I mean, there's certain standard baits, folks, for Arizona and techniques. One of them's the drop shot, obviously. Yep. I think the other one would have to be the
Senko. Anybody can fish it.
Yeah,
Throw it out
exactly.
there, let it sit and wait till it swims off.
I'm glad you said that because I get a lot of questions on how to fish a Senko. Anybody can fish a Senko.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it weightless. Just a
me
little.
too.
I'm using a 2-aught wide gap hook with a 4-inch Senko. What are you throwing?
I've got a 4-aught hook with a 6-inch Senko, a little bit bigger one. It's just what I had tied on before.
And he's not using the wide gap. He's using it to make it look slick and thin. And why do you do that?
It just goes through the weeds a little easier, less to catch up on the weeds. You can pull it through almost anything.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome rig right there. Awesome setup. We might catch some fish through here. Let me grab another Senko. See, you got to just try different techniques I haven't been on this lake since last year. So, since last year. Since the spring. I was here in the spring. But it's a whole different ball game in the heat of the summer, for sure. Hey folks, thanks for joining us on the show. You want to stay tuned next week because I promise you, we figure these bass out right here at Canyon Lake. Jim, I want to thank you for being on the show this week. We're going to get them. We're going to show them next week, ain't we?
We can do it. We'll figure it out.
Mr. Jim Hawks, tell everybody about Gold Vampire for a quick second because I'll tell you what, great partner of the show. You got to stop by and see him.
Well, we're an independently owned jewelry store, 4062 East Main Street in Mesa. We do all the work right there. We do custom jewelry you can only buy at Gold Vampire.
That's right.
Yeah, and everything's done right there at our store.
One-of-a-kind jewelry right there, and I'll tell you what, an avid bass fisherman and a great bass fisherman. We had a blast. I promise you next week, you're going to want to tune in. Thanks for joining us on the show. I'm Johnny Johnson.
Thanks.
Now, see, that's what I'm talking about, folks.